Yay. Okay, I'm so excited. So it dawned on me when I made the group chat today that you guys have never actually met.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
no, no. Like I like in
Never
my
even
mind.
like talk to each other on the
Yeah,
phone.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Mara, Casey, Mara, this is Casey, Casey, this is Mara.
Hi.
Hello.
I met you guys basically at the same time. So Casey and I worked at this call center together. I was home from Asia, and then we like bonded over Game of Thrones. And then that's the trip that I met you on, I think. So I went,
Yeah.
but like once I was back in Thailand, and then Casey, Mara, and I worked together at Lauren's hostel. So
Uh,
Casey
Yep.
also has been to Koh Samui as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the hostel that you
Work
and
at the
I,
hostel.
yeah, worked
yeah.
at the hostel.
Had
So
had that experience.
yeah. So
Never met Lauren though.
no, yeah, you didn't meet Lauren wasn't on the island when you were there. Yeah. So I just think it dawned on me. I was like, oh wait, no, they don't know each other. I just pulled a resand and like twisted Casey's broken arm and decided he was joining this project. So
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'm on
Welcome.
the obsession train.
Casey just read the book for the first time, and Mara, you just did your reread, and then
Just a,
I'm fully absorbed in the madness now. But Casey has only read ACOTAR. He's only read a quarter of Thorns and Roses, so we can't spoil anything for him,
okay.
for Mr.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'm
yeah.
limited knowledge.
Yeah.
But
Which
yeah.
is actually pretty good, I think, because for the audience just joining, I'm kind of the front man for the audience, I guess.
I read it so long ago that I forgot enough that at parts it felt like a reread, and at parts I was reminded of things. So I have to like try to keep everything separate as to what was the first book and what I remember vaguely as like other things as I reread the first one and tried to actually put all the pieces back together again.
You haven't read any of Crescent City, right?
No.
I'm the only one who's read Crescent City. Oh.
Yeah, get there.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, because that's when it becomes a multiverse. Like, there's hints throughout that it's a multiverse, and Crescent City is where it's like established that it's a multiverse. Because before Crescent City, it's just you're kind of like, is she? Why is all this stuff the same? Is she copying herself? There's all like the little Easter eggs, and they're Easter eggs up until Crescent City, and then you have to go back and read the whole thing again because turns out everything you thought was an Easter egg is actually on the timeline. So, but you don't need to know any of that yet, Casey. It won't spoil it for you.
Let's just start from the beginning.
Yeah, dive right in. What kinds of discussions are you excited to have?
I mean, my first thought when I started rereading it was like, that's not how you use the word parameters, and it was like sentence number 2, and I was like, oh, we're just gonna go with this.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to discussing. What I'm looking forward to discussing is why it's so popular, even
Yeah.
though I think we can all agree that the level of writing is not great.
Yeah, it's like high school creative fiction.
Well,
Yeah.
I think she was 23 when she wrote this one, right? 'Cause she's our age, Mara. Like,
Okay.
so, and it was, when was it published? But she had written, oh my God, I should do research before we do these kinds of things. She had written like 3 or 4 books of Throne of Glass. First, maybe Throne of Glass is what was published when she was in her early 20s. And so then, and ACOTAR is like her 4th or 5th book published. So yeah, I get it. But I kind of think she pitched a Beauty and the Beast retelling to her publisher, and then halfway through was writing a fantasy novel and decided it was going to be a series, and that accounts for a lot of the inconsistency.
And the self-absorption? I mean,
The,
like,
the self-insertion. I know that, Mara, when you were doing your reread, you texted me and you said, is she just walking around the forest like this with her bow?
yeah. I'm pretty sure she unstrings it and then doesn't restring it. And I'm just like, that takes, okay.
Like
I guess.
actually takes the string off the bow.
Because he was going to leave and then she sees the doe. So she unstrings it because she's leaving the forest, and then she sees the doe and suddenly it's restrung for her. Reading through that section, I'm like, that is not, even when you're good at restringing a bow. Also, what kind of bow? I got real bogged down in the details, but like,
Yeah.
God, I think I texted you a lot about her like idea of how hunger and cold affects people, and how much it drove me fucking nuts. Like, that killed me.
Like Sarah J. Maas's experience of hunger. She got hangry a couple times.
The fun story I have about being hungry is leading week-long hikes with teenagers who need to take in 3,000 calories. We would have the same basic stuff for lunch. Once you're hungry, they put tuna fish, peanut butter, honey, jam, and a bunch of other stuff that doesn't go with each other into a wrap and ate it. And it legitimately, to each and every last one of those kids, tasted good. They went home and tried the same thing after being hungry. It changes your relationship to taste, to texture. It destroys your personality after long enough. Like, which
It's
is why
probably why
Ernesto
Ernesto was such a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Was there anything that like stuck out to you that you remembered from the first time, and then this time was either different, or you were like, oh, okay, I get it now?
I feel like what started standing out to me more, because I started reading it as if I was actually going to talk about it with somebody, instead of just like reading it on my lunch break to get through my lunch break before going back to work, was actually realizing how flat every character was in the beginning.
Well, Casey, you had said to me, because so when he was reading it, he was doing the same thing as you, like sort of like sending me these little updates. And he was like, why are the sisters so one-dimensional? And I think a lot of that like was that she pitched this as a fairy tale retelling. And I don't know that she decided that it was going to be more than a standalone book until she was further along in. Because at least that's what it feels like to me. Because even just the sisters at the end of the book and the sisters at the beginning of the book, it's like, why did you wait 3/4 of the way through to give them the semblance of a personality? It kind of goes back to what you were saying about like not understanding hunger. There's like, if we dive into world building, she writes herself into corners, right? So like, if it doesn't make sense, their behaviors don't really make sense for how they are reacting to the situation. It's okay if they're like, if she's still setting them up to being villains, but just the whole like wanting a new pair of shoes, although not to spoil it, but we get Nesta's perspective in Nesta's book, and it is quite different.
Oh, Nesta gets her own book.
Yeah, so there's 3 books that center around Feyre, and then there's a little holiday episode that transitions the story from Feyre's story to Nesta's story, and so far we have 1 book with Nesta. And I think nobody knows what's going to happen. Like, I hope that since there's 3 books for Feyre, I hope there's 3 books for Nesta and 3 books for Elaine with a novella in between. I don't know if we're going to get that. We're not going to spoil Nesta's book for you, but yeah, I think it would make literary sense if she does it that way and continues it like, and you get like a full Wheel of Time level, like, don't be afraid to write 15 books in a series. It's fine. Like, but I don't know. But yes, Nesta does have, it's not her own book. So these first 3, A Court of Thorns and Roses, Mist and Fury, and War and Ruin, are the only books she has written in the first person. Her Throne of Glass series is completely in the third person. Crescent City is completely in the third person. And Nesta's book is in the third person as well. So I think she didn't like it. First person is really hard.
Well, and I think we talked about it too, is how much, with this one being in first person and the stories being different between the two, it would be nice if she committed to the fact that it's an unreliable narrative. Like, they're that one-dimensional to Feyre. Like, they're that one-dimensional as sisters to her, not that they were actually that way, and showing that through several books from everybody's perspective. Because then it feels like something that's more forgivable. Even then, it was still a little much, but, you know.
Yeah, like, come on, Elaine, plant some fucking potatoes. Like, what?
Chop some wood.
But I honestly thought we should just dive into world building. Actually, let's like fuck our outline and like dive into world building. I will say she doesn't know how much fur would have sold for in this time period. Like, that wolf would have fed them for a long time. And secondly, there's a comment in the first chapter where she's like, this dough will last us for 2 weeks. Jesse gets a deer a year, and it takes us a year to eat it. And I get it that we're like eating other things, but I don't think Sarah Maas knows how much meat a single dough would produce.
Everything was like world built and stuff. I mean, they had clocks, they had running water. You know, what if they had like a legitimate ice chest to keep that shit nice and frozen?
Yeah. The technology timeline throughout the series is I'm going to force you to keep reading them, but I know you and I know that it is going to drive you absolutely batty crazy. Batty crazy. Like the technology that they'll have in one industry that won't reflect another industry, and like how people, how like jobs, like I don't know that Sarah really, like she made a choice to set this in feudalism, but I don't know that she knows how feudalism works.
Or when feudalism was.
Or when feudalism is, yeah. I mean, to be fair, we're heading back to feudalism, so we'll find out.
Speaking of which, y'all are coming with me while I go get fire, because we do warm this house with a wood fire stove. And that's kind of like the thing, is that certain things will kind of overlap. Like, I'm not paying the electric bill for heat because it's going to be more than, our mortgage, at least. So we've always had a wood fire stove. And so, like, you can have like quirky things like that where technology overlaps. Like, I'm over here making a fucking podcast with you guys and also heating my house with a wood fire stove. But she doesn't give any thought to how weird history and technology actually feels and looks when you look at how it developed and what developed next to each other. Yeah. It's like there's something about when world building, you can see the laziness of world building in how they nitpick what they call things and what they choose to show. Kind of how they show poverty, I would almost say. Like, both of those things to me shows me how lazy the world building is. Like, she would use very conveniently, like, when sicknesses came through the area. Like, you could give sicknesses an entirely different name, but you're still going to call it typhus. Like...
Because the mom died of typhus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the way you pick these things is very much like, there's magic, and it's an entirely different world completely, but you're still going to call it that. And then, like, everything that she added in, I feel like, is what she thinks is the worst part of feudalism, to create this sense of poverty by showing that they're in the worst situation they could be in by being in feudalism, but not actually accurately knowing anything about it.
And then she just gets saved by the Lord anyway. Yeah. But yeah, like, I thought... I didn't mind the village description. I thought that the Children of the Blessed were going to play a bigger role because they were introduced, and it's almost like she forgot about them until War and Ruin. But I thought they would play a more significant role, because you do get that. It's like so when she goes to market with her sisters to sell the pelts, and then Nesta gets into the argument with the little cult girl and like calls her stupid, and Sarah uses that to sort of establish some of the rules, where she's like, we learn that they believe that iron will keep you protected from fairies, and that you know that there's this cult that worships them, and then you kind of like, you know that there's a wall, and for some reason, like, maybe people can go across the wall, but maybe they can't, but you know they can, because she thinks that the wolf was a fairy, so it's like some mystery. But she uses that scene to kind of like build out the world a little bit.
Yeah, what's the phrase? If I could comment on Tamlin's little phrase saying that Feyre, quote unquote, she's got balls. Like, I was like, what? Who would say that in it's like a turn of the century phrase, you know?
So what time period when you open the novel, because I knew going in that it was pitched as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and we can like circle back and discuss later whether we think that she pulled that off or not. I don't. But that being that it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I set it in that sort of grim Hans Christian Andersen, medieval, feudal, Disney Beauty and the Beast, that there's going to be like people ride horses and have carriages. And then, so then the running water threw me off. But I was like, it is what it is. Maybe they're pumping it frontier style.
I was along for the ride. Yeah, like, as the intro happened, I thought it was a little bit, I don't know, Hunger Games-y, young girl in the forest with a bow hunting, but I don't know what came out first, this one or the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games came out first.
Okay.
I know you don't read as much in this genre, but the starving girl in the woods is a very, very common trope.
Yeah. I thought that like I said, I thought that the intro was pretty together. I did think that the sisters were a little bit one-dimensional in that it was like here's a trope, the mean sister who's like angry that they lost everything, and then there's the baby sister that's, like, oh, I want this for Christmas, but or like, I want this from the market.
Yeah, well, Feyre is like, really doesn't, she thinks very poorly of her sisters. Like, she straight up thinks Elaine is stupid. She makes a comment like, I don't even think Elaine realizes we're poor. And that's quite mean too, because it kind of, and I'm on a reread too. So I'm sitting there going, Nesta and Feyre have a lot more in common with each other than either of them do with Elaine. And in at least in A Court of Thorns and Roses, Nesta seems to be quite protective of Elaine. And I think Feyre is jealous of that. What I'm going to make I feel like I can solidly say this just based on A Court of Thorns and Roses and not the other books as well. I think that their mother was a narcissist who pitted every single one of them against each other. I just think it's so weird that and it drives so much of Feyre's character that the mother on her deathbed was like, you have to take care of the family. And that's a weird thing to say to your youngest child. And I would like this to get explored in Elaine's book. I actually don't mind if it doesn't get explored if we continue Nesta's story, but at least if Elaine finally gets a story, I would like some fucking resolution to the mother wound. And I'm going to talk a lot about mother wounds as we move through this series. But because I think right here, I don't know if she wrote it on purpose, but I do think there's an opportunity for her to like come back and retcon it a little bit, that like the mother gave each of them a different personality. And that, like, because Feyre's, like, oath, I will take care of my sisters, is so central to her character. Like, she thinks about it a lot when she's in the spring court. And then, but she also sees them as a burden and just wants to marry them off so that she can spend all of her time with the father. So she's got some daddy issues going on. But then the second that, like, Nesta says she's going to marry the woodcutter's son, Feyre's like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Why would you do that? And it's like, what the fuck, Feyre? You just told us, the audience, that, like, your dream in life is to marry your sisters to whoever will take them.
Yeah.
And then immediately when Nesta's like, well, I'm going to try and get married so that I'm one less mouth to feed for my family, or maybe like I can get some free firewood if I give him a handy behind the barn, like that like Feyre's just like, ew, you're disgusting, why would you do that? Like, she's quite, I think we see Feyre already being really hypocritical, like with her sisters, which I'm on board with for the story, but I just don't know if Sarah intended it to come off that way. It's just how I interpret it.
No, it feels like her sense of superiority is attached to the fact that she was told to take care of everybody too. Ooh. It's like she has no identity outside of this thing that she promised to do, and she hates that but doesn't have anything else. So like, if Nesta left, then she wouldn't be able to be the only thing she is, which is long-suffering in the wake of her own personality, I guess.
Interesting. No, I like that. I actually would not have taken it that way, and I really, really like that. It kind of makes me rethink some things that we encounter with Feyre later as well.
So Feyre is basically like her mom, based off of Natasha's assertion that she's a narcissistic parent.
Well, I would say that all of the sisters are like their version of their mom. That's what I would say.
There we go.
Yeah. That's what I would say. Yeah. I would make the argument that they each believe that they were Mother's special creature, and in reality, Mother was Mother's special creature. Yeah, that's what I'm.
So, as Feyre, as a heroine, though, besides the intro where she's rough and tumble, gritty in the forest, shooting, restringing and unstringing a bow, is she much of a heroine besides the final tests that she has to go through at the end of the novel?
Ooh.
Would you even consider her a heroine at that point, or would you consider her more, would you consider Belle from Beauty and the Beast as a heroine?
No, to the extent of the fact that the word heroine is made to like mimic hero, there should be a hero's arc then, and there's not much. She gets tossed into a thing that she doesn't really want to do, which kind of starts the hero's arc, but it's like the hero's arc happens in the last third of the book. There is a bit of that hero's arc where there's like, she has to do something she doesn't want to do. She goes through with it anyway. It brings her to the brink of death, and then she overcomes. Like, that happens. But it's not the main focus of the book. So it's almost like she was accidentally kind of a heroine, but only because she had to be, because had anybody else been able to handle it.
Yeah, and I mean, technically, Lucian helps her win the first trial. Rhysand does the second trial for her, and then the third trial is a trap. So, yeah, because remember, like, Lucian shouts from the audience so that she'll know where the worm is, and then like that helps her like set the trap for it. And I think that gets glossed over. And then Rhysand just straight like literally burns her arm until she
mind connects with her.
Like, he's just like, no, that's the wrong answer. And but
multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. Like, Rhysand and Lucian do literally all of the legwork in this book. Like, well, Lucian is precious baby boy.
Yeah.
But Casey, you actually, I remember you making that exact same comment about where's the hero's journey in this book.
Yeah, because, and it kind of falls onto that comment that I made before, was like, there's a lot of stuff happening, not a lot of plot. Like, there's like a lot of words, but not a lot of plot going on. Like, I didn't think the book actually started to take off for me until she came back. She went back home and had a conversation with Nesta. It wasn't until then that I felt like she started making decisions, and that's when the novel picked up. So I definitely agree with you that like the second half is like where the action begins, and I think it's because Feyre as a character and as a person in the story just doesn't make a lot of decisions. Like, I mean, she gets taken from her home against her will, and she's not really making a lot of decisions here.
Yeah, and I think she spends a lot of the first half of the book wondering about things, but not actively seeking answers. And whenever she's told, don't ask questions, she's just like, checks out. Because even, like, she doesn't really explore the manor. And in Beauty and the Beast, I think in the Disney movie, if you look at Beauty and the Beast, the Belle exploring the world that is the manor does drive the plot of Beauty and the Beast.
Literally, the whole castle is a character. Everything in the castle is a character. Yeah. So, we didn't really get that in the manor. All I'm honestly picturing when I think of her experience in the castle and in the Court of Spring is her on a balcony looking over a courtyard in a bathroom with running water. Like, and then maybe maybe some of the Feywilds when she goes and talks to the I forget what it's called.
The Surreal. I do like the Monsterverse of this series. I will say that I think that the monsters, when we get to Mist and Fury, I'll have a lot more to say. But just on ACOTAR standalone, I like the Bog. I like the Naga. I really like the Surreal. I do like the creatures. I like the garden fairies that look like insects. I think visually, it's fun.
Yeah, even the wolf at the beginning, I thought was like the way that scene is described. I thought it was pretty action packed.
Did anybody hear about the worm and immediately think of Dune?
Well, yeah, because everybody
thinks of
Frank Herbert is OG Daddy Herbert. Like, he did it, and then OG worm, and then ever since then, everyone's wanted to do it. Although this worm fit inside a house, so much smaller.
This is true.
Much smaller. This worm was like more like the worms from Tremors.
Oh yes.
Right.
Got it. Like the Beetlejuice worm.
Or like yeah, exactly. So I guess I would say, what, Casey, initial thoughts, what surprised you? Like, what happened that you weren't expecting? Okay, actually, I'm going to jump in because I remember you answering this question. You were like,
Are you going to talk about Lucian?
I'm going to talk about Lucian because you were
I was like, he's the love interest, right?
Yeah, so Mara, Casey listened to the graphic audio, which you really have to listen to, so it's done quite well. And about partway through, he's like, calls me, and he's like, why are Feyre and Tamlin kissing? I thought that Lucian was the love interest.
Yeah, I'm like Lucian. I don't know. I sound very
Lucian.
posh. I feel like I sound posh when I say Lucian. But Lucian. Yeah, had all of the up until a certain point. It felt like Lucian just had all of the screen time front loaded in their interactions with Feyre when she gets to this court of spring.
Yeah, Lucian has all the banter. He sets, it's like the enemies to lovers relationship seems like it's going to happen with Lucian because they have all the back and forth and they have they're riding alone in the woods together. And then the vulnerable moment with Tamlin is just Tamlin telling Feyre Lucia's tragic backstory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just felt like Lucian was the love interest. I thought that it was going to be like a dual love interest thing going on, and then which I think is still going to happen, but not with Lucian.
Who do you think it's going to happen with?
Well, obviously, I think it's
Gonna be Rhysand?
Rhysand and Tamlin, yeah, and because Rhysand has kind of done like the Hades Persephone thing, where it's like she is now indebted and required to go with Rhysand for a quarter of her life.
I feel like what ended up happening is she like hard pivoted with Lucian and then made him like the sassy best friend after setting it up. Like,
Yeah.
That's
she
funny.
just and like if you're gonna make it a dual like love interest, like at least have fun with it. I feel like it very much did not even touch on anything other than this one very straight relationship with this person who's lived for over 1,000 years and hasn't tried anything.
And so what do we think of like the timeline of the reveals in A Court of Thorns and Roses? Like, so Casey and I talked about this. I feel like
But you're gonna say that the boot kissing scene.
Oh, I love the boot kissing scene.
So
it's my favorite scene.
When the second time Rhysand shows up, it's the second time after he saves Feyre from the lower fairies.
In Calamai, yeah.
Yeah, and he shows back up and is basically, I don't know, sequestering Lucian and Tamlin. And Tamlin and Lucian basically get down on their knees and grovel to Rhysand. And the information that would have been really helpful in setting up the intensity of that scene would have been knowing how certain parentages passed away due to conflicts between them. So, like, what is it, Rhysand's parents or Tamlin's parents?
Rhysand and his father killed Tamlin's family.
Yeah, and so no, and then so if you knew that beforehand, knew who did it, having Tamlin basically grovel would have been another knife in another twist of the knife for Tamlin.
I think it would have been more meaningful for the readers too, because you would have seen how afraid of because Feyre when Feyre first meets Rhysand, he effectively kind of like swoops in and saves her, and she has a sense that he's dangerous, but she doesn't know who he is. They had previously mentioned the Night Court, I think a couple chapters before. Lucian makes an offhand comment like, oh, the people in the Night Court are sadistic killers, and like whatever. It's like a throwaway line as to be like foreshadowing, and then I think that this scene in the dining room would have been the readers connecting, oh my gosh, this person, and Feyre as well, because it's in the first person. She would realize that the person who had saved her on Calamai is the person who killed Tamlin's family, and then that sets off Feyre's conflict and your conflict, thus as the reader.
Conflict between him being like, do we like Rhysand, or should we hate Rhysand? Is he the antagonist, or like or an antagonist, I should say? Yeah.
And then I think it also shows to how Tamlin is like, because it would help the audience understand how Tamlin's feeling about Feyre, because she's afraid that she could be taken away from him. And then it helps to explain why this is the interaction that then pushes him to send her back home to her family. I don't know. What do you think, Mara?
I feel like, and this is more of a general statement, I feel like the weakest part of the book is the build-ups, the emphasis, and the reveals. Like the emphasis, who is it Amarantha? I'm putting the right is in there.
Wait, I could do an entire episode about Amarantha and Rhysand. Mara has been subjected to these from me before, as has Casey. We should do an episode, just a Remarantha episode because I have a lot of feelings about it.
That like with the build-ups, the reveals, like how she presents the pertinent parts of the information to build even just any sense of tension. Like I feel like Amarantha was so overplayed, and it was just like, who is this woman? Who is this woman? Who is this woman? It was like almost jealousy, whereas like any of the nuance, any of the other relationships other than the big bad was like almost revealed in the worst way possible. As you said, with the information about Rhysand and his role in Tamlin's life, that would have made Tamlin a scared little boy in that scene, and that would have been much better. But none of it is revealed in a way that works for the tension of the story, other than her overemphasizing Amarantha. And then you get there and there's still not all that much tension, because that's the thing that's like the only thing that Feyre questions ever is
who is she, because they keep saying she. I do like though that like she starts having nightmares of like a woman like clawing out her throat, and that I think is one little thing. It does add a little bit of tension, but you're right, like we needed more, like going back to our earlier talking about the world. I wonder if, so you know how they have this scene, her and Tamlin go have their little skipping through the fields scene, and then he shows her his sparkly vampire skin, and then from then on she can see the spring court fairies that have been hidden from her
for what it really is.
Yeah, and I get that, like I understand why people would like this pattern of events, that like this event happens and then she can see. For me, it would have been more impactful. You can even have the scene stay, but happen earlier in the novel, because I feel like when you get to that final test and when she has to kill the three fairies, that the emotional impact would have been there would have been more gravity if she had had more interactions with characters aside from Lucien and Tamlin. Because then it would explain like her feelings of guilt, and explain like why is she going to sacrifice her life for these fairies. And I think you need to see Feyre developing relationships with more, and seeing this world as being because we start out, we're supposed to believe that she killed the wolf with quote unquote hate in her heart, and we're supposed to believe that humans hate fairies. They believe fairies are evil and dangerous and disgusting and monster, and then we don't get any emotional growth, like you said.
I think the only emotional growth that I feel like we get is the moment when she's tending to the dying fairy who got his wings ripped off, right? So it's like that's the only moment that we really get to see Feyre develop any type of like connection to fairies, or to the Fae.
Yeah, and it doubles as an emotional connection between her and Tamlin too. So it's trying to do a lot of work in just one scene.
You also said that it would have been more impactful if it were humans that she had to kill instead of other Fae, because it would have been more like, you'll kill fairies to save a Fae, but would you kill humans to save a Fae? It's a totally different position, which is more impactful in regards to showing the loyalty.
I think Amarantha is trying to display a point to the Fae aristocracy that she's justified in her hatred of humans, in this sort of like, look, see, she says she loves a fairy, but can she still kill one easily? And if it had been humans, then it would have been like, is a human willing to kill a human to save a fairy, not the other way around.
Not alone just another human, but three humans.
Right, yeah. From a symbolic perspective, I think if they'd been human, it would have been this dark foreshadowing of her future as a high fae, because then this bloodshed would represent the shedding of her humanity and turning her back on the human world for the sake of the fae world. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That works so much better.
Yeah. Well, I like Casey, as we were having our conversations, I was like frantically running to my phone to be like, don't forget this. Because you made a lot of points too. And then I also wrote that you had said, is this a trolley problem? Casey, do you feel like it's a trolley problem?
Well, are we talking about the three fairies versus Tamlin's life?
We're all over the place in this discussion, and that's fine.
Well, yeah, we're talking about
the killing of the fairies. Do you think that it was intentionally a trolley problem, or do you think it just is a trolley problem by happenstance?
I think it is a trolley problem by happenstance. I don't think SJM set out to make a trolley problem per se. I think she just wanted to create a dilemma for Feyre to have to overcome. But I feel like it would have been a stronger trolley problem if they had been Fae that she knew. If it had been Alice or, any other one of the teacup kids there.
That's
Teacup
what
kids.
I'm kind of expecting it to be, like that's the emphasis that I was kind of expecting when we got to that scene, was it was going to be somebody that she knew, because it would only make sense for it to hurt that much if it was a Fae she knew, or as brought to the conversation, people, because right now it's strangers and they're Fae, like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't create, again, in
An emotional
creating.
tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't make sense for Amarantha's character, because we are, by this point, gives them the story of who Amarantha is and what she did in the war and why she is the way she is, because a human seduced and then tortured her sister to death. That, like, we need to see Amarantha's brutality and vengeance.
Yeah, kind of retribution towards humans
Yeah.
by bringing in these three.
Yeah. And especially because Amarantha's trying to make the entire point that she deserves to rule over humans because humans are horrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, presenting it as this human is going to kill other humans for love, but just look how quickly they'll turn on their own.
Yeah.
Think about how quickly they'll turn on you.
Yeah.
I do love her little eye ring.
Okay, so just jumping forward, this is how I was going to transition, like, us talking about world building into talking about characters. But, like, if Amarantha never takes off her ring, does that mean every time her and Rhysand have sex is a threesome? Because Jurian's in the ring the entire time.
Well, Jurian is definitely a cuck.
Situation?
Like, Jurian is, like, definitely there.
Yeah, he just watches. He's just a watcher.
Yeah, the fandom.
She's not one of those ring stands where you set the ring on it and she just aims it.
Even if she did she angle it towards the bed?
Yes.
She was.
And that's another thing too, is that maybe I just didn't read closely enough, or listen, because I listened to the graphic audio. I never realized that Rhysand and Amarantha were in such a relationship. Like, yeah, like I didn't realize that. Like, I guess, yeah, it didn't click for me that they were in like a
sexual relationship.
Yeah, I just thought that he was her squire or scion or something like that, and not being in a sexual and emotional tryst.
So my big issue, well, I have a lot of big issues with Amarantha. It's going back to, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot, is Sarah J. Maas gets really attached to words and then uses them over and over and over and over again. She uses the word brutal constantly. She uses the word utterly constantly. She uses the word unleashed constantly. And every single time someone describes Rhysand's relationship with Amarantha, they call him Amarantha's whore. And all I needed from her in this series was for people to call him her creature, her pet, like just anything, like use whore a couple times, that's fine. But she could have expanded the vocabulary in a way that really emphasized the power dynamic, the sort of grotesque, the darkness, like that she just got really stuck on the word whore. And I think it diminishes the situation. Because the situation is incredibly complex and incredibly dark and twisted. And she just she thought it up and then didn't want to go there. But I do think that like other characters, like the Autumn Court characters and the Summer characters, I think if they had referred to him verbally as things like creature, pet, like you said, lackey, just other adjectives, like other nouns, other words.
Yeah, would have described the relationship a little bit more brutally.
Yeah, but yeah. And I know that I have an unpopular take on the relationship, which I guess we could transition into talking about like if this does end up getting adapted to the screen. You and I talked about this, Casey, that first person is really hard to adapt. They can only adapt this if they give side characters more storyline. And what I would like to see is
it
more
at the
I need a bedroom scene
when it
between
when
Rhysand
it
and
gets
Amarantha.
when it gets to the point where maybe that bedroom scene is what draws the impetus for Rhysand to actually get involved with Feyre.
Well, I think like too, like we find out off screen that like when the children of the Winter Court get murdered, that is something that basically all the characters think Rhysand did, and we don't know. It's like a mystery who did it, but it was done using powers that he has. I mean, okay. Just there's so much going on in Under the Mountain. There's so much politicking that never gets explored. And in the show will have to do that. Like the show is going to have to show scenes that it like because like Lucian's brothers cannot just appear in Wings and Ruin if it's a TV show. Like Eris has to be introduced in season 1. Like anybody that is a character that makes it to like any character that appears later, I feel like you can't. I guess you could. I mean, I guess Eris could make a cameo in season 1, and then. But the hard part about Hollywood is these contracts are going to have to be locked in the beginning.
Just for a little bit of a stand-in.
Yeah, like Dahario Naharis got recast in Game of Thrones, so I guess never mind anything that I say. Hollywood can do whatever it wants. So, but yeah.
But I mean, like, it kind of comes back to the fact that, like, that amount of politics isn't something she was ever going to delve into, because that was never the point. The point of the story isn't the world building. The point of the story isn't the politics. It isn't all these things that she has set up and then left and untouched. It is creating an escapism afternoon kind of tryst for burnt out people, which is, I think, what to me, I mean, maybe that's just my experience. I read it because I was too burnt out to read anything that fucking serious. Like, I was driving to a job at the time that the first time I read it, where like I hated that job so much I was dry heaving on like the exit. As I took the exit, I dry heaved almost every fucking day on the way to this job. I was so burnt out and tired. Yeah. And I started reading it because I needed something that was a bunch of books. I didn't have to think too fucking hard. Like, legitimately, I just had to, like, I could leave what I was doing for a little bit. And it was great for that. And I feel like she set up a very large world with a lot going on, and then, like, kind of took one finger and touched on it when she needed to, and then dipped out.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, I wonder how much romance readers, this is their first introduction to fantasy, and fantasy readers, this is their first introduction to romance, because it is a crossover genre, and there are very few authors who really pull this off. I talk about Kushiel's Dart all the time, but I think Kushiel's Dart is exponentially, like, it's orders of magnitude better written, more complex, and darker than ACOTAR. But I wish people who read ACOTAR and are looking for something to read after would go that direction instead of going to like Fourth Wing and Vampire Academy and stuff like that, because those are romances set in a fantasy world rather than fantasies that have romance. And I think that maybe she set out to write a romance, but the thing is Throne of Glass is fantasy. And so I think she was wanting to write, that's where I'm not sure. Like, I guess we'd have to like do some research and pull up some old interviews, as I wonder, this clearly got pitched to her publisher as a YA Beauty and the Beast retelling, and then as she was writing it, it became something else. And then now it's quite spicy, but it's not, like, people call it smut, and it's not smut. Like, I wouldn't even call Silver Flames smut. I mean, Silver Flames has a lot more sex than the rest of the series, but like, it's not smut. Like, smut doesn't have a plot. Like,
yeah, smut is E.L. James. And I was actually surprised. I was surprised at how little there was, like, just because of the way that it had been pitched to me.
Right.
And then I read ACOTAR 1, and I was actually really quite surprised at how little sex there was. I mean, I think that what Sarah J. Maas does do well is the sexual tension between Tamlin and Feyre.
Lucian and everyone. No, just kidding.
Yeah, between everybody but Tamlin and Feyre. Yeah.
Fucking Lucian. Lucian is an Olympic level fluffer. Okay, and this poor boy, he's just like in the background, like giving Tamlin thumbs up. Like when Tamlin's all like, "Your hair is clean," Lucian's like, "Good job."
And Feyre's like, "Thanks." Was it not clean before? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that touches on what you were saying about you, Mara. You looked to this when you first read it. You were like looking for it to be escapism. And it is, I would say it is more complex than Blood of Hercules or something like that. Don't read that book. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I read 3 chapters and I was like, this is terrible. First of all, there aren't sex in the first 3 chapters, but the writing is awful, so I'm not even going to finish it. I'm just swiping through to try to get to the smut, and I gave up. But so it's like, yeah, I think that there's the expectations for what this book is are all over the place.
Yeah. Well,
we're wrapped up in the madness now, though. So
yeah, and I think you're very like right. The first time you said that it was pitched as like a YA Beauty and the Beast retelling, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it started as. And then now there's a bunch of books, and like it's
a multiverse.
Yeah,
here we go.
And so I'm interested to see what happens as I read the next books, to see how the tone changes as it continues to build and grow. Because right now we're in like the very first one where like there's a lot of tone changes throughout the book. Like it's very much 3 separate stories that kind of got smushed together.
100%. I totally get that. Like it starts out with this gritty, like feudal, medieval style, like survival, where she's trying to feed her family, and then it shifts into the court of spring where it's like, you know, I don't want to go hunting. I want to paint. I want to learn how to read. Like and then it shifts into this action adventure piece where she's, you know, doing the trials and trying to survive the prison under the mountain.
Yeah. Like I want book 1 to be her running away with the mercenary and grappling with broke a promise. Like that's what I wanted, like from the first one.
It's funny that you say that, Mara, because like there's I know that Beauty and the Beast gets a lot of like, oh, this is meant to be Beauty and the Beast retelling. I got a lot. East of the Sun, West of the Moon is one of my favorite fairy tales. And the setup for Tamlin's Curse, which of course I feel like East of the Sun, West of the Moon and Beauty and the Beast are each other. So it's basically this girl gets, God, I'm gonna butcher this. I'm like, it's my favorite fairy tale, but I don't remember anything about it. She has to go live. She gets married off to this prince, or has to go live with this prince, and the prince has been cursed, and he is a polar bear by day and a beautiful man by night. But at night, she's not allowed to look at his face, but she's like, oh my gosh, I want to see this person because he's, you know, we're going to be married or whatever. And she like peeks into his bedroom, but she accidentally drops hot wax on him. Ooh, drops hot wax on him, and she sees him, and he's so beautiful, and he's like, oh, now I'm going to be cursed to be in this bear form forever because you weren't supposed to do this. And so she decides she's going to save him, and she goes on this global adventure where she's taken like by the west wind and the east wind and the south wind, and she goes on this like epic quest to break his curse. And like, we don't get the epic quest with Feyre. We don't even get like the hot wax sexy scene. We just get, but no, like
all we get is her finding out that Nesta tried to go over the wall. That's all you get.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like you just get the conversation with her going back home, and then, you know, her going back and having a conversation with Alice.
So Mara, do you think that she should have gone and found the mercenary, and then they like went to Summer Court and raised an army and attacked the mountain? With like Feyre riding a winter court polar bear into battle.
Give her the Joan of Arc arc.
Like, but that is there's so many points. She'd need a sense of adventure.
Yeah, there isn't a. You're right. There is a lack of adventure. It goes from atmosphere to action.
I don't remember what scene it is or when the thought came across, but does anybody else feel like Nesta would make an amazing prostitute?
Okay, when we talk about Silver Flames and we talk about Nesta, Mara, we can't have this conversation.
Natasha's fired up.
I want a different backstory for Nesta, but I don't think we obviously never get it because Nesta's book's already written. Yes, I would have had, and this is why I have hopes for Elaine's story. like I said before, I want a retcon of their childhood. And because I don't like the inaction of the sisters, especially now that the sisters have been made like primary characters, is that we have Feyre the Huntress, we should have Nesta the Aphrodite, and then Elaine the Demeter, right? Like, so
Yeah.
So Nesta's story should have been she's giving Thomas handies behind the barn in exchange for firewood, and doesn't tell Feyre about it, and then that would explain so much of Nesta's shame, so many of the behaviors that we get for Nesta,
that she would get from the sisters.
Yes,
because it's like I'm doing all of this without you knowing, and you think you're so high and mighty because you're going out and hunting. Yeah.
I need a scene from Elaine's perspective of her in that fucking garden weeping over these muddy potatoes that will not grow. I need her to have tried and failed, because it just makes their stories so much deeper and explains so much more of their conflict, because Elaine is so set up to be this sort of like both Nesta and Feyre really hold Elaine up as this paragon of virtue. She's perfect and she's beautiful and she's like a little doll. And like, I need that to be reflected poorly in Elaine's perspective. I need her to resent the fact that she is meant to be perfect all the time, and that to be like a core part of her struggle is like being like, please let me be allowed to make mistakes. Please let me be allowed to be human. And I think that if we get a scene of her looking back and like trying to grow a vegetable garden and failing, like never mind that she seems to be perfectly capable of growing flowers, like we can just ignore that in future books. Like that's a retcon I'm okay with. Like just get that scene of her like just muddy and crying in the garden and like nobody sees it. And then I also needed the scene that I never got with Nesta, which is her giving Thomas a hand job in the back of the barn in exchange for firewood. I need these in this in order for their motivations to make sense, because they don't. They're like Casey said, they're super one-dimensional.
Yeah, just get Miguel Sapochnik to write the whole thing.
So then we would just get nonstop battle scenes.
But even in those motivations, like that changes so much. Like you said, you went from wanting to hunt, being good at hunting, being proud of hunting, to not wanting to hunt and just painting. Like this sense that like innately to her goodness as a character, hunting is bad. Like the immediate comparisons to it being murder, this, that, the other thing, and like the guilt around with it, I was like, you have never did, evidently.
Sarah, okay. I'm gonna be a stereotyper for a second. I know you and I and Casey grew up in rural Idaho. I grew up in rural Idaho. Mara grew up in rural Virginia. We have a very different perspective of hunting than Sarah clearly has. Like, I don't know where she grew up, but she clearly, I don't think, grew up like us. And I agree. I think that she doesn't understand hunting. She doesn't know how to hunt. And it was a very interesting choice to have made for her main character. I would have liked Lucian and Feyre to be hunting in the Spring Court. Like, we could have gotten, like Casey said, more action. Like, if we'd seen them hunting together. But you're right, Mara. The one time that they do go hunting, she just goes, I don't want to kill things. Can't Alice just butcher all the chickens for us? Like
you're not a vegetarian.
Yeah, she goes straight from skinning a wolf to being like, let's get all of our meat at the grocery store, like really quickly.
Not just skinning a wolf, but skinning a wolf and skinning a deer and taking care of that and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally prepared.
Difficult.
Totally. I thought the entire time, like, okay, my dad hunts, and I grew up obviously in a hunting household, and like that the idea that she carried a wolf pelt and an entire deer carcass out of that forest by herself with no pack. Just like,
does she though? I know that she does talk about like the conflict of not being able to carry both. I remember that being a line. But does she manage to carry both out?
She does, because she leaves the wolf meat behind, which is fine. You don't eat predators because they're, they usually gamey and they have worms and stuff. And like, you can't eat predators. anyways, people don't. Yeah, that she thinks about it, and she does skin. She takes the pelt because she considers leaving the pelt because of the meat. Like, she has like an internal conflict of like, do I eat or do I take the pelt? Because the pelt's worth more. Like, she can tell right away that it's worth money. And ultimately, though, she does carry them both out, because then we get the scene in the kitchen where she slams the deer on the table, and Nesta and Elaine are like, no, I don't want to do kitchen work. Like, so, but that's for the peasants and the servants that we don't have.
8 years ago.
8 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, so
that really...
how old are the sisters supposed to be? Do we ever find out? Like,
well, let's look.
To 30.
No, Nesta's supposed to be 25, and Elaine is like 23. So there's like a 2-year age difference between them all. Right? Okay. Feyre's like 21, 22.
So the biggest fantasy here is that the middle child is the favorite.
Yeah, that's really funny.
I feel like she was like trying to turn a lot of dynamics on their head by making the youngest child the person who took the role of the eldest. And like, you know, Rhysand gets called a whore, which is usually a word reserved for a woman.
Yeah.
Which is why I think she hammered it so hard, and it almost undermined it in a way, because without backing it up, it's like you're turning it on its head just to make a point, and it falls short.
Yeah. I want so much more for Rhysand and Amarantha. We have discussed this, and we will discuss this when we do our future Remarantha episode.
It's gonna be excellent.
It's gonna make people upset with me.
We should start our fan casting by talking about who we would want as Amarantha in the.
We are going to do a mega fan cast episode for the whole series, but Casey, who would you cast as Amaranth?
Okay. Well, I have 2 choices here. I would either go with Olivia Wilde as Amarantha.
Okay.
Or Charlize Theron.
So my pick is number 6 from Battlestar Galactica. I think she would be amazing. I do like Olivia Wilde, though. I think that Olivia would push for a much deeper and more complex character. Like, the actress herself would advocate for, like, if I'm going to be in this show, I want this, and this. Like, I'm not going to be this one-dimensional villain. Yeah. Because, like, okay, we'll dive into Remarantha quickly, briefly. Like, there's the line where does Rhysand tell Feyre when they're in the dungeon together why he thinks Amarantha chose him, or does that come in Mist and Fury? Mara, do you know? Or Casey?
I think that's Mist and Fury.
Where she says that it's because his father killed Tamlin's father and she wants to punish him.
No, actually, I think that was
ACOTAR, because that's when Feyre realizes that Rhysand kills his father.
Yeah.
I didn't like
Which is a scene that we should have got way earlier.
Yes, it is.
And have Lucian divulge the information.
Yeah, which would balance how Tamlin completely outed Lucian's entire backstory to Feyre without his permission. By the way, Feyre, did you know that Lucian's brothers and father brutally murdered his lover and tried to kill him too? And then Lucian, in response, had to kill 2 of his own brothers in order to escape? Don't bring it up next time we're at lunch.
I for some reason I totally thought Lucian divulged a shit ton of stuff for Tamlin.
No,
like I feel like it would have worked so well for Lucian to have been like this ultimate wingman and be like, well, Tamlin is tortured because of this, and this, so give him a break.
Yeah, and instead we don't get any of that until Alice gives like the full like info dump to Feyre.
Yeah, after everybody's gone under the right, because when she goes back to the Court of Spring, they're all gone except for Alice, right?
Right. Oh, my one of my favorite scenes is that scene when Alice just sees Feyre, and before she says anything, she goes to try to take the mask off. I give SJM credit. That tiny little thing, I liked that.
Because it showed the curse, like the curse would have been broken. Yeah, that is a really good, like a little good, like heartfelt thing. Like there's something true to that.
I think this detail like that popped out for me was when she had to go back for a new knife for each victim when she had the 3rd trial.
Yes, because Amarantha wanted to make her feel it. Yeah.
Great fun. I was like, oh, that's good. That's good.
That was good. Yeah.
Far less heartfelt, but you know.
Just make her feel it. Yeah. But yeah, I like your choice of Olivia Wilde. Not just because I think she looks the part and would do a really good job, but also I think the actress would advocate for a much more complex portrayal of Amarantha. Who do you have, Mara, for Amarantha?
Eva Green.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would work really
Okay.
good. I was about to say that I felt like Olivia Wilde would be able to emote the
Yeah.
intensity of the emotions and stuff, but I definitely feel like Eva Green would do that as well. And
Yeah.
without using the crazy word, being
Crazy.
able to,
Yeah.
being able to get that out there. Just
Did
the
you
intensity.
did you ever see Penny Dreadful?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I think
I
that,
watched some of it.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. Who would you okay, so Casey knows who I would choose for Rhysand / every single character in this show.
Well, I think you and I both agree on who Rhysand should be played by.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I do have one other pick,
I
and
will not accept it.
you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh, okay. I
Okay.
think I would almost go with Pablo Schreiber.
But you know what, Casey? I like it because I actually really like if I were to cast for Cassian and Azriel, I think I would choose the guy who played Bellamy Blake from the 100 and the guy that played the second Spartacus in Spartacus. So who is the actor that played Bellamy Blake? What's his name?
I just had it
Bob
pulled up.
Morley. Bob
Yeah.
Morley. Um, Also, so on that note, my second pick for Amarantha is Clark from the 100 because they're married in real life, and it would be like a little treat to the fans because in the 100 Clark and never get together, and there's so much chemistry between the two actors on screen because they're married in real life, and the characters never get together, and it's quite disappointing as a fan because their sexual tension is great, obviously, but yeah. If although you'd never, I guess if he played, he'd have to play Rhysand because if he played one of the Bat Boys, you would never see him on screen with Amarantha. But still,
Now, Tasha, you still haven't said who you would want as Rhysand, actually.
You can take it away, Casey.
So, just from pure charisma and the visuals of dark, sleek, and sensual, yet really slimy in a sexy way, Ben Barnes.
Ben Barnes. Do you know who that is, Mara?
No, what is he in?
Prince Caspian from Narnia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just Google, I'll share my screen and you'll I'll share my screen and you'll be like, oh, that guy.
Yeah, I'm so in love with Ben Barnes. I think he's magnificent in everything he's in. He's great in Shadow and Bone. Did you see Daredevil or The Punisher on Netflix?
Yes, Punisher.
Yeah, he played Jigsaw in The Punisher, and he was so sexy. The scene where he becomes Jigsaw is seared into my soul. It was so executed so perfectly. Like, honestly, I actually really liked season 1 of The Punisher. I thought that it was excellent. And then, of course, what is it, season 2 of Daredevil, which to me is just season 0.5 of The Punisher because it introduces John Bernthal and he steals the show. But no, I think Ben Barnes for Rhysand is, yeah. But yeah. Okay, so we went like crazy. I don't care about outlines, like rules. Breaks are for losers. But let's talk about Tamlin. Let's talk about Tamlin. First impressions. Who do we think would play him? And was he swoon worthy, or do we have red flags? Like, what do we think of Tamlin? Because he is almost a minor character in his own story. Because Lucian steals the spotlight.
Well, the whole zeitgeist, and Natasha and I seem to agree about who it should be, but because there's only one tall, buff, blonde actor in the whole world.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth.
Well, I think the hard part about Tamlin is his size. And I think that they'll run into that with Cassian as well, is that they're described as like ginormous people in the series. And it is going to be difficult for them to cast someone because he has to be bigger than everybody else, but not so big that it's comical. Like you couldn't cast The Rock. The Rock would be too big, right? Like,
my first thought is they're going to stick Henry Cavil in another wig.
I could see Henry Cavil
Yeah.
Like that's like my instinct on what they'd go with if they were trying to pander a bit, especially after everything with The Witcher. But like my first thought is like either they'll pick somebody they like that doesn't fit the role physically and then just like adapt how the scenes are done, because obviously you can kind of play with how the scenes are shot to kind of adjust for that a little bit. And I always forget he's blonde. I always want to make him a redhead inside my.
You mean because we spent the entire book falling in love with Lucian?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Who's a redhead? That's the reason. Like a Chris Hemsworth type for sure. The hard part is they can't get too many A-listers, and it'll probably be like Game of Thrones. They're going to cast a bunch of people that can grow with the show. But
who was the guy who played King Arthur?
Not Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, but Charlie Hunnam is so beautiful. Yeah. He could do scary, aggressive Tamlin because I watched Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I could see Hemsworth as Lucian.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I know we're talking about Tamlin.
Could you get them both? That would be really funny.
That would be funny.
I like when jokes like that happen in Hollywood. Like I like casting jokes a lot, as evidenced by my pitch that Clark and Bellamy should be in this show somehow together. But but I do think that Bob Morley would make a better Azrael, and we'll talk about that when we get to Mist and Fury. But he's just so like emo and mopey and like hiding in the corner all the time. That did you get that little like mop of dark hair like just across the front? It'd be good.
I feel like we spend so much time falling in love with Lucian, as mentioned by our conversation about blondes and redheads, that like I feel like it says a lot to Tamlin as a character. It's almost like everybody became the flattest version of the main character she was trying to make them to be, and then she like pinged them off each other, and so all of these side characters really became memorable. It's like she tried so hard to make Tamlin this very specific stereotype of the main lead that Lucian just kind of came out and became more dimensional than him. It was like he's almost scared to write any of the main characters.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That is a really good point. That you think that she maybe was trying to set Tamlin up trying to set Feyre and Tamlin up as archetypes rather than as individuals.
Almost like, like that's, even if she wasn't trying to on purpose, it was like she knew how to write an archetype or a stereotype, and along the way, the characters she fleshed out the most were the ones she was least worried about.
And the ones that she was trying to like divulge from the stereotype. And that's what I thought, that's what I felt like too at the beginning of the novel when I talk about the flatness of the sisters. It's like the sisters too is another example of like strong archetypes, strong stereotypes of Nesta being the bitchy older sister which is weird that we've already talked about it, but it is definitely weird that Feyre, though being the youngest, seems to have the most responsibility out of all of them.
When I first read it, I will admit, I thought that Feyre was the middle child and Elaine was the youngest, and it took me until Wings and Ruin to realize that Elaine.
Because Elaine acts like the youngest.
Elaine acts like the youngest, yeah.
Has that peppy baby energy.
Baby Spice.
Yeah.
So we have angry Spice, baby Spice, and what is Feyre's sporty Spice? Feyre's sporty Spice. Yeah. And then I guess Rhysand would be posh Spice, and Lucian's ginger Spice. There we go. We got all the Spice Girls are represented in
Tamlin's
ACOTAR.
The manager. Was Tamlin like muted or something during the trials? Like, was he not allowed to talk, or was like he magically bound or something? Because I felt like she kept looking at Tamlin, but Tamlin was just like, I felt like Tamlin was like a statue. Like he didn't.
Yeah. So Mara, what do you think of this? Because I know I have thoughts, and I know that the fandom has thoughts.
So I feel like first of all, I think you sent me a meme about this, and it was fucking funny. Second of all, there is a line when Lucian goes to visit her in her cell where he's like, there's no spell. He's just terrified of showing Amarantha which form of torture hurts him the most. And like,
yeah, I do remember that.
I feel like, I don't know if that's an excuse for his behavior. Like, Lucian is truly a really good friend. That is like the main thing about him. And I don't know if he's technically hovering, basically, for Tamlin's inaction because he was underneath the spell of being a scared little bitch boy.
Yeah, Lucian, the Olympic level fluffer. Yeah, like all the way through. I mean, even when they're under the mountain,
torture.
It's Lucian that comes to heal her. Like it's Lucian's doing it all.
Which, to the extent that Tamlin's always being watched, like, okay, but it all comes off like an excuse. It all comes off like he's not willing to take a risk.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I can't wait for Casey to read Mist and Fury because, whew, Tamlin, poor Tamlin. We did need his tragic backstory earlier. We needed it earlier. We really did. I think that we needed to know how Rhysand killed his family. We just need more time with Tamlin that we didn't get. Even if the story all ends up the way that it ends by the time we get to Wings and Ruin, I think that is deepened if we have more screen time with Tamlin. Because I know that she's trying to write this, that he doesn't want Amarantha to see him react, but is it an excuse? It was confusing for the readers. Like Casey, you just said, was he magically bound? Like, this is why isn't he doing anything?
Yeah.
And then you get Rhysand saying that, like, all of Rhysand's actions are designed to make Tamlin explode and attack Amarantha, but we don't really get to see Tamlin holding his emotions down. I know that there's, like, you see his, like, claws, right? Like, that's, like, throughout, like, it's a representative of Tamlin trying to keep his emotions in check, and that's, like,
like he's, like, flexing his, like, fists or something. He's, like, gripping the fist.
Wolverine. Yeah. Yeah.
Wolverine, right? Like, I'm not the only one who's sitting here.
He's Wolverine, yeah. So do we just need Hugh Jackman to play?
He's in a wig.
Stick him in a wig. I mean, he's 500 years old. Like, they do not need to look 21. Like, we can have a range of actors playing these characters. If you were to change it, Casey, and have Tamlin be more active, what would you fix? Would you fix him? Would you fix him? Would you fix him before the mountain or under the mountain?
Well, in this particular instance, I'm talking about under the mountain. And it doesn't even need to be anything like drastic. He doesn't need to do anything like intense or whatever. Just give us a reason as to like, well, I'm having a hard time. Like, I'm a visual reader, so I have to visualize it. And when I'm visualizing it, I'm imagining Amarantha on her throne of some sort, and Tamlin's just like sitting next to her, not doing anything. Like,
and then do we imagine Rhysand like in a little like on a little like poof at Amarantha's feet, like the little Jabba the Hutt, like in a little Leia outfit. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Imagining like Tamlin being like the Leia part to the Jabba the Hutt analogy here, and then like the guy with the loopy neck thing that comes off his head, the little like speaker.
Oh, okay.
Like, but I'm just like, is Tamlin like on his knees? Is he like in a chair? Is he like I just have a hard time like visualizing exactly what Tamlin's position was, like what he was doing. Like,
I imagined him as sitting in a throne beside her because she wanted him to ultimately, he was her prize, right? Like that she always like it's mentioned, I think, by Alice that she always wanted him, which is creepy because what, did she just choose him when he was a child and she was like, he will be mine? Because she's like she's like 900 years old.
According to the ACOTAR wiki, Amarantha is over 500 years old.
Yeah. Like Rhysand, like
Tamlin.
Who else?
But Tamlin's just over 500 years old. But younger than all of them. Yeah,
Tamlin tells Feyre that he didn't fight in the war, that he was too young.
Aging and like this whole process and what's appropriate and not appropriate, and like how you actually like gauge that throughout this whole thing, because if like age differences is inappropriate, then Feyre should be off the fucking table all the way. Like she is, But it always, something that doesn't often get addressed is how, like, I mean, we get the one line that says by 75 years old they are mature, but like, what does that mean? It means they turned 18. That also doesn't mean you're actually an adult. It means everything but the prefrontal cortex is done, and you got 6 more years on that. Like, where are they? Yeah, have they hit their late teenage years at this point? Like, what is the structure around that?
It's really, I have the same question too, because I don't know that we'll have, when we do deep dives, we'll explore it, but I have read these books quite a few times, and I cannot recall aging being discussed other than when Alice first explains it in ACOTAR. Yeah, it's like never brought up again. And my big question then is, do they continue aging or do they stop aging?
Well, it
If so,
depends on
why?
who we cast.
It depends on who we cast, right? Because like the thing is, if age of maturity, which if we equate that to our own culture is, let's call it 20, is 75, then if Tamlin is 500 years old, should he look 120?
Calculator. All right, let's see. So if
So
75
should
is to 20,
should Tamlin be played by Robert De Niro? Just like Clint Eastwood.
well, so for every so if we're gonna do like dog years, if like 7 years is to one human years, one dog years to 7 human years, or whatever. I don't know. So it every every 4 years they age up 1 year. So if they're at 75 years divided by 4, that puts that like
25.
500 divided by 4. Yeah, he'd be like 125. And somebody just cast Dumbledore. It's cool. Come on, Michael Gambon, where you at?
Well, listen, we know that like at least like Helen Mirren can play Amarantha and be fucking fire, right? Like we know
Yeah,
that
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep can play Amarantha, and we will all be here for it. Or Nicole Kidman, who hasn't aged a day in 60 years. How old is Nicole Kidman? 32?
I don't know. Watch her be 60 years old.
Nicole Kidman is reverse aging.
I wish there had been a little bit more of a concept between Tamlin and Feyre, being mates versus just, because like there's the whole you guys both smiled, and it looks like there's like, I feel like there's going to be something coming in the future that's going to talk about that, but maybe Rysand and Feyre are supposed to be mated.
So
But anyway,
what would make you think that?
I don't know, because
Out of curiosity.
well, just because there wasn't anything. The way that SJM wrote the idea of these two individuals are married versus these two individuals are mates on top
Yeah.
of being married, there was no indication that Tamlin and Feyre were mated. So maybe, and then when I said that though, you guys smiled, so I'm like, oh, maybe there's something around the
We're not
corner about
we're
that.
not going to tell you. What I will say though is that I have a question about mates. What if this is theory time? What if the reason mates are rare is because of the wall?
Okay.
But yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my only theory, and we can explore it as we go. But no, we don't want to spoil anything for Mist and Fury for you, because like there's like the story just started basically. Part 1 of ACOTAR, I don't even know what it is, but the story starts in part 2. You open the middle of the book and you're like, and begin. But on that, like, not to derail your guys' points, but like wrapping up how we've been discussing characters, I kind of feel like there's Lucian and Rhysand were really modeled, like this character structure model is so similar. So it makes me wonder if like, was Rhysand introduced because she already introduced Lucian, and is like, it does feel all over the place. Because I'm like, they both banter, they're both like slim, and they're both, for lack of a better word, foxy. I mean, like, he's described as looking like a feline, and Lucian is described as looking is a fox and stuff.
Yeah, they
But
both
anyway,
have like Aqualine features.
but so where what are your thoughts on mates?
Well, I don't remember specifically who has the conversation with Feyre, but they were talking about how having kids, Fey kids, is rare, and I think that was the same conversation about mates.
Alice mentions it to Feyre as well when she's telling about her nephews, where she says the high Fae, that children are rare among the high Fae, more so than the lesser Fae. But to the extent that even Alice, who is not high Fae, was, remember, unexpected that her sister would have 2 children, which kind of implies to the reader that, like, if that's considered frequent for lesser Fae, then it's even more rare for high Fae to have children. And then, and so it then, I think, should signal to us, like, Lucian has a shit ton of brothers. Okay, Lucian, how many brothers does Lucian have? Like, there's a new Vansera brother every time you open a door in this series. It's just like one popped out. Like, I don't even know all of their names, but he does. Lucian has a shit ton of brothers. And then Tamlin has siblings. I think that it's Tamlin and 2 brothers. So we have no idea how old they were or like how long it took his parents. But I went on a tangent. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
The kid thing also bothered me for three things. One, I mean, obviously you're going to have less children if your longevity is that long. You don't need to reproduce that much. So, of course, it's going to be lower than a human's. There's no need for it.
Well, we do know, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, because we do know that Rhys-Sand and Tamlin at one point were friends, but Rhys-Sand was already like 100 years old. He was already like 50 or 60 by the time he like you are probably right, Mara. Like, and then Amarantha is like lusting after Tamlin when he's what, 9. Like, what a fucking pervert. Like, because we don't really know how old he was when he first encountered Amarantha. But yeah, I guess. But even then, though, by Fae standards, he would be a like precious baby boy. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but he does say that he never expected to be High Lord. That they thought it was going to be one of his brothers, but then his powers were growing and it became impossible to hide. And then we also, because everything we learn is about Lucian, we know that Lucian's brothers were super murderous, and they're like, it's kind of all established that there's a lot of fratricide among the High Fae because of powers. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but that gets explained in Mist and Fury, Casey, why there's so much fratricide and what it has to do with their powers.
Which will still never make sense when it comes to birth rates. Like,
no, it doesn't make sense when it comes to birth rates. No.
I'll take a guess and say that like you have to take out let's say Tamlin has his power and then Tamlin kills his dad, and then Tamlin will gain more power because his immediate lineage is killed. But then you guys have Tamlin has older siblings, and why doesn't the power transfer to the eldest or whatever? Like, why does it go to...
I will say, I didn't mean to like jump in. I will say you are on the right track. So I'll rein that back, and I will say you are on the right track. That there is a complex thing with the magic and the power and the position of High Lord. And why, and then it does, I feel it is, actually do feel like it explains fratricide enough. I agree with Mara, though it doesn't explain the low birth rate. But if my theory about the wall is correct, I feel like that would explain. But we will have to discuss Sarah's inability to explore complicated racial dynamics in the world that she... between the Lesser Fae and the High Fae, and how they interact with one another.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's hunky-dory with the arrangement.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do find, though... everybody's hunky-dory. You do find that Lucian's lover...
Overlord.
Yeah, Lucian's girl is killed because she's a Lesser Fae. It's very much the Autumn Court or the Lannisters of this series. Yeah, and so it's very much like Tyrion and Tyrion's first wife. It's a core part of Lucian's character as well, and then having to kill his brothers in order to escape. Do you
think that, with that being said, do you think that there's an interesting point that could have been made with, because you mentioned this, Natasha, was the Court of Autumn was the first one to put forth the light to Feyre when she was dead, essentially.
Yeah. Yes, and I do. We'll get it when in Mist and Fury we'll talk about, but imagining Mist and Fury doesn't happen. It is, to me, one of the most meaningful points in this book is that it is Beren who steps forward first, because
for a human nonetheless.
This man who had his son's lover killed,
Lesser Fae killed,
just for the crime of, like, you are not allowed to stick your penis in a Lesser Fae, that he would give part of his power to resurrect this human, is this moving part of the story. And you know that my favorite scene next to the bootlicking scene is when Mama Autumn gives Feyre the magic bucket of water. I love Autumn Court. They're the most interesting part of this entire series, in my opinion, and they don't get enough screen time. But because they're the Lannisters, so they're complex and they hate each other. But do they hate each other? We don't really know, because they do a lot of things that you wouldn't do if you hated someone. But then they also do a lot of things that you wouldn't do if you love someone. So, and they have dogs.
Love people too.
Now, I guess to kind of put a little pin in the whole thing is we've kind of talked around some of the foreshadowing, and with me kind of being on track with these ideas that you both are more acquainted with. Well, I am still on the first book, having finished it. Do you think that Sarah J. Maas does a good job with some of the foreshadowing and setting up some more of the things that happen throughout the series? So with that question being said, do you think that she does a good job overall, or do you think that it's just like a lucky a lucky novel that she put together?
Mara, you take it first.
Okay, I think it's luck. I think sometimes you catch the right wave at the right time with the right publisher. I think that she leaves what is the old thing where if you show a gun in the first scene, you have to use it in the third.
She does not do
Yeah.
that.
The
She does
Chekhov.
not do that. Yeah.
Never touches them. She wants to hit on these subjects without committing to it. And then one of the things that I was going to mention is that in trying to flip the script, I feel like the reason why we don't have much to say about Tamlin, and he's like a Mary Sue character. She gutted him as a character and left him to be this Mary Sue character that we know very little about. And she ended up going I feel like I'm reading an outline sometimes, a very detailed outline, but an outline nonetheless. And I feel like she got the right sweet spot of the right number of pages in a book to keep people's attention for those who like light fantasy and light romance, and the internet found it. And that, I think, all worked out for her, and I think that she doesn't do a good job of foreshadowing.
So I would say she does an okay job of foreshadowing, but my theory about it is that it's not foreshadowing, it's retconning. I very strongly suspect that she writes multiple books at the same time, just given what we know of how long it takes to go from proof to print and how quickly she churns out novels. When you get to Silver Flames and Crescent City, I will die on this hill. Crescent City 2 and Silver Flames were written at the exact same time, and all of the sex scenes in Crescent City were cut from Silver Flames. We spend so much time in the gym in these two books. All the characters are in the gym. Cassian's at the gym, Nest is at the gym, Emery's at the gym. You skip over to Crescent City. If Hunt and Bryce are not in the gym, Ethan is in the gym. Everyone's in the gym. That's 2 books of gym, and that's they were written at the same time at a point in Sarah's life when she was spending a lot of time at the gym after she had her baby. So we spend a lot of time sweating.
Yeah.
But meaning to say that I think to your point about foreshadowing, Casey, is I think that she was drafting Mist and Fury when she was finishing ACOTAR. She had gotten like I said, she pitched this Beauty and the Beast retelling. Partway through, she's like, hey, publisher, let's do a sequel to it. And they were like, sure, what's it going to be about? And she went, Hades and Persephone. And at that point, she introduces the bargain between Rhysand and Feyre. And then at that point, starts putting things in the beginning of ACOTAR, right? That are gonna resolve in Mist and Fury. And the more she wrote into Mist and Fury, the more she started putting in imagery that then, because when you go back on a reread, you see so much of foreshadowing for Mist and Fury in ACOTAR, but ACOTAR was still pitched and published as a standalone book. You have to ask yourself how much of that was actually written forwards and how much of it was written backwards. Once she got the green light to, oh yeah, we'll do Mist and Fury, you can run with this Hades and Persephone thing, then she started being like, do we need to add in some imagery? I wonder if, I don't know. I mean, I just really needed a lot of the villain characters to be more villainous, and I would love to believe that they were originally more villainous and then it got scaled back by the publisher, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. Mara does not think that's true. Mara thinks that we got what we got. There's no deeper thing going on. So
as somebody who's only read one book, how does the foreshadowing and the setups work for you as somebody who has no idea how some of this might work with later books?
There's one right on the tip of my, right in the front of my head that I can't seem to pull out. but I feel like I talked to Natasha about this, and I was like, I feel like this, and that. Or at least it was just one thing. I think there was one thing where I was like, I feel like I messaged you, and I was like, I think this is what's going to be happening. And then you were like, well, just keep reading because I can't tell you.
So
Probably anything with Resand, really.
because he just appears and then we then
Hmm.
never leaves the screen and just replaces Lucian entirely.
Essentially, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the same character, I swear to God, I swear to God, like
You
it's
just needed
almost
a dark counterpoint or
well,
counterpart.
that's almost how I felt. How I felt. Why I feel that the it has to do with the publishing schedule because imagine Resand not in the story and everything that Resand did Lucian did instead could also fit, right? Because Autumn Court is so prevalent. Even when Lucian is no longer on screen, then we start getting the scenes like with Mama Autumn Court, right? Then that she's like, why is she there? Why is it her? Why isn't it just some random woman? So was the original draft of this to have the love triangle be between Tamlin and Lucian? Because if
Hmm.
you guys haven't read her other series with Throne of Glass, the first Throne of Glass book sets up two love stories between, so there's Prince Dorian and then his captain of the guard Cahol. It's Kristen Cole, Cahol. I don't know. Anyways, I call him Kristen Cole because he's fucking Kristen Cole. Like he totally is. I love him. And that is what's set up. And then in book two, you get like you're surprised by which one she chooses because it seemed like she was going to be with Dorian and then it seemed like she was going to be with but just like in ACOTAR, you're like, well, obviously she's supposed to be with Prince Dorian because he's the prince and this is supposed to be Cinderella, but why is all the screen time going to this hot captain of the guard? Oh, by the way, he's her gym instructor. Like and we spend a lot of time in the gym in Throne of Glass as well. Like that so it reminded like once I read Throne of Glass, which I read after this, that I was kind of like, I wonder if she originally was kind of writing the same format and then realized that well, I can't do this story again. I need to do something different. And then when she decided to do Hades and Persephone, then Resand gets added into the mix. And then maybe that's why it's so disjointed. But it goes back to what we were talking about before. If the whole entire thing changes, if we just get that story about Resand killing Tamlin's family earlier in the book, like it makes him more villainous. It makes
Makes
Tamlin
him
more
seem more dangerous too.
makes him seem
Which
more
which is another
dangerous.
thing too. I felt like we get all of these stories of Fae eating humans and all of this scary shit, and we don't really like. I left the book feeling like the Fae weren't actually all that dangerous. I thought the Fae
Yeah.
wilds were dangerous, like all the monsters and whatnot. But I was talking to Natasha about this too. It's like Tamlin seems so ferocious and deadly at the beginning of the book when he appears in his beast form, but we don't ever get that experience of him again, like throughout the entire first novel, which I feel like detracts from the juxtaposition of the beauty, like his beauty and his elegance and grace, and then like juxtapose that to the the rage and the pain and the scorn that he feels.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we ever even got that, even when he does what he does to Amarantha.
Yeah, well, we talked about, and I mean, we can talk. I would like to talk about like what scenes we would change because we have kind of been doing that this whole time. But I agree with you. I think. Do you think we need more beast form Tamlin, or do you think we need more backstory to make him more dimensional, or both?
I would say both. Yeah, I
Okay.
think we need more backstory to make him more dimensional, and then we need just one scene with him back in his beast form where he just goes full ape shit on Amarantha and just like make it seem like it's like the last little bit of like Feyre sees Tamlin in his beast form when she gets taken, but like we don't ever see him do anything really that vicious, right? We don't see him do any major destruction or rampaging or anything. So I feel like if like the last thing that Feyre sees when she dies is like Tamlin going full crazy, just like full monstrous level intensity, I feel like that would have like added to the complexity that is Feyre and Tamlin's relationship, quote unquote Complexity.
Complexity. Well, you get the scene where she is coming back and being chased by the Naga, but I think you're right. He doesn't go into beast form. I think he just whips out his claws, but he's still mostly in man form. It's almost like you either need an extra scene, or the scene where she's riding in the woods with Lucian should have been her riding in the woods with Tamlin. They get attacked by a monster and he shifts into beast form and is like absolutely fucking terrifying. And and then she's like, oh my God, like, oh, what world did I get myself into?
And then it would make it even more hot too, because then it's like
for fucked up people like us, yeah, but
yeah.
maybe not the intended audience, like Mara said, of this original book. But sorry, you were saying it would be hot because
it does give that he has that capability of being that ferocious, that monstrous, and then yet he's this elegant and tame, like, quote unquote beast. Like, if we're gonna use the phrasing from the Beauty and the Beast aspect.
Right.
You think it gets too close to furry for her? She's just too uncomfortable with that line.
Actually, I was gonna say, I think it is what you said earlier, that she does not. Her setup and her payoff struggles. When it comes to the beast forms of the High Lords, Tamlin is not the only character that she does this to. She constantly alludes to their deeper power, their beast form, their thing that is existing inside of them, whether it's Rhysand or Summer Court or Autumn Court, whoever, like whichever one that she's talking about, she constantly alludes to this sort of deeper power that could be unleashed at any moment. And then when you do finally see it, she's built it up so much that you're just like, so I don't get it. Like, is he a griffin? That's not that scary. And so it's like, yeah, it's like, why is she describing him like a furry? Like, because she's built it up as this monstrous thing inside of him, and then what, he's just like a lion, like a panther? I don't really know. But you're right, Casey. I think if we had seen an increasing level of horror, but she's not a horror writer. And like, we'll talk about this when we go into our deep dive on Marantha. And you and I talked about it too when we were talking, when you were reading it, Casey, is that my favorite aspects of this series are the horror parts, but she does not, we need them to be more frequent and bigger, I think, and then it would make the series a lot deeper. But she pulls back. She pulls back from it.
The intensity and the awesomeness of it stays here. Whereas if we just got a little bit more juxtaposition, it would have increased the range a little bit. So so we know we're operating in this sphere of a little bit more greater, a little bit more just more mystical. I don't know.
More moody. It'd be more moody.
Yeah, and I think to Mara's point too that she made earlier is that there's this man, my train of thought is slipping. No, she dips her toes into both fantasy and romance without actually taking the plunge into any of them. So you don't get you get less of both worlds because of it.
Yes, she stays in.
Yeah, I think that, Mara, to what your comments about Tamlin too, I think that what Casey just said kind of explains that a little bit, that Tamlin, to his discredit, at the expense of Tamlin, she created Tamlin as the empty vessel for women to pour their desires into, and that's why he literally is an empty vessel. It's like, so what do you imagine your perfect prince man to be? And then that is who he is under the mask. And you just have to, as the reader, have to do all of the emotional and intellectual heavy lifting to turn him into the person that you desire, because we don't really see him. We don't ever know what Feyre desires. She doesn't think about the kind of man she wants. She doesn't think about what he looks like she does, but even the way she describes it, she's like, I imagine that he's very handsome. Well, no. Yeah. Okay. No, I imagine my Prince Charming to be disgusting.
Ben Barnes.
I do imagine my Prince Charming to be Ben Barnes. I do. I love him.
Oh, man.
Baby Barnes.
I think that Spot On is trying to create space for somebody to fill because it is a romance novel, and I don't want to say entirely pandering to the audience on that front, but you got to make it appealing to a lot of people if you're gonna sell a lot of books.
So do you think that it's that, or do you think that she was trying to subvert expectations? Do you think she thinks she
what
was trying to subvert
expectations?
expectations? No, I guess that doesn't really work because you're right. She didn't really. She does end up with Tamlin in the end. He is the one who takes the final killing blow. Yeah,
And he is like the stoic, rough, until you get to
yeah.
know him type of guy, which I did like. I did like the moments when Tamlin
Is that a
was.
millennial thing? Like, is Tamlin supposed to represent the Prince Charmings that we were told to love growing up?
I don't think that's a millennial thing. I think that's been a trope of like desired masculinity is the face of this gruff, hard, as in like stoics,
Never shows his emotions except when he's being like he can no longer hold it in, and so he breaks something.
yeah, or
Yeah,
like, and it's supposed to represent how much he cares and his passion, stuff like that. And then also,
because violence and love are supposed, but she doesn't do that because if she
no,
wanted to
she
explore,
does.
yeah, if she
She
wanted to
does
explore
more,
sex and violence, it would be Remarantha.
but I think she does do a good job when it comes to like when you feel Tamlin happy, when you feel him laughing and stuff, like when you get those scenes, those do feel like impactful. It's like, oh, this character who gives off the vibe that he's tortured, though we don't necessarily know why up until the very end. When she does give us these scenes where he's having a good time, I felt like I was like, oh, this guy is having a good time. He is connecting, and it did feel good, and it felt like a win for Feyre to be able to get that side of Tamlin.
Yeah, like when he's playing the fiddle, when he fiddles for her, and he makes sexy limericks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like he ended up being, I don't think, I mean, a character that like is very much, because like he is clearly scared of making decisions on how to go about the situation he's in, and then he can't make a decision underneath the mountain, and like
we will see that continue. No spoilers, Casey.
It's like difficult to touch on now, and it'll be easier to talk about more once more of it develops. But
Once we get
I
into
feel
Mist and Fury, yeah.
we got stuck with like a scared little boy. He's like still stuck where his parents died. Like he's still stuck.
Which I agree, and I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind that at all. I think that is like the one complex thing about him that we get in this book. And I wish we got more. Again, I mean, we're going to say this 100 times. I needed that to be introduced earlier. I think I would have changed even on a reread, even knowing everything that I know about like how the story ends, I want Tamlin to be sadder sooner, which is a mean thing to say,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
just
No, go for it.
I was gonna say I 100% agree because, like, to add credence to my own point, if we knew that he was sadder, so when he was happy, it makes it all that much more kind of like bittersweet, be like, oh, this guy is so sad, he's gone through so much, and when he's being happy with Feyre, it actually feels like a win for their relationship. And if we're gonna talk about this being a romance, we need to talk about the power of the romance.
yes. Again, so we need to like do like the words of what you just said, like splitting across the screen.
Romance.
Romance, because it's true. You are, yeah, yeah. That needs to be. That's what goes back to what you said. It's like, are we writing a fantasy? Are we writing a romance? We're choosing to write both, so she shouldn't choose. She go with the romance trope of why choose? Why choose? Do them both. Turn them up to 11 and do both. Give us more fantasy and more sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So the Hulu adaptation's been canceled?
yes, the Hulu adaptation has been canceled. I'm glad. I don't think that Disney can do this series.
Yeah, no. And
I don't
I
think
think
Disney can do
Amazon
this series.
Prime should pick it up.
Really? Even
Yeah,
though they
because
already have Wheel of Time and Lord of the Rings?
that's a good point. But also HBO can't really pick it up because they also have Dunk and Egg
Harry
and
Potter.
do they have Harry Potter coming up?
HBO's doing, because it's Warner Brothers, and they're doing a remake of Harry Potter as a series.
Ooh, nice. And then
Yeah.
they also have House of the Dragon that they're still finishing up too.
Yeah.
And so then you said Stars or Showtime then, which remains.
Yes. So I Because I'm a huge fan of Spartacus, and when we do some of our character deep dives, I have a lot I want to say about Spartacus. Mara knows. Mara knows. Stars has, if you watch Spartacus and if you watch Banshee, I think that, so I don't know that Sarah would send her show to Stars, but if Stars got to run with this show, I think they would kill it. Like, I think that they would I think they'd make it darker. I think they'd make it more violent. I think they would draw out the horror aspects of it. I think they would do the Illyrians really well, because the Illyrians are basically just gladiators. And I think Stars could do it well. I think Showtime could do it well too. Showtime has done some really, is Yellow Jackets on Showtime or Stars? Mara, do you know?
That's Showtime.
Yeah, and Yellow Jackets is great.
Yeah.
I just think that they could, and they need a property like this, right? So like, they're kind of the underdogs, and they consistently put out really, really, really good series, but they don't have the audience level of HBO or Disney. And I think they need a property that is like a water cooler property. So it would be a really, really good get for Stars or Showtime. Netflix has the budget. Amazon has the budget.
Foresee, based on everything that we've just talked about, though, like with budget, and I could see Netflix picking it up too, because they don't have like a big flagship thing right now. I mean, Witcher kind of feels like it's dead in the water.
Yeah, but is that going to turn, like, the hard part about Netflix is Netflix does a lot of adaptations, and they start off really good, and then Netflix moves on. They give them 2 seasons, and then they give up. Shadow and Bone tanked. Altered Carbon tanked. Marco Polo, which wasn't an adaptation but kinda, tanked. They've just got 3 Body Problem as an adaptation, and it's fine if you haven't read the books, right? Like, it's, do you trust, does the fandom trust Netflix?
Oh, and also you had Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon, yeah, didn't do well, and that wasn't even an adaptation. I mean, technically it was Star Wars fan fiction. Because did you know Rebel Moon was originally, Zack Snyder pitched that as a Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they just,
maybe Apple TV.
I think Apple could do it.
It would give it a level of class, I think.
Yeah, and Foundations is magnificent.
Yeah, I agreed.
Foundations is Silo is really good, really, really good. Silo. When I was have either of you guys read Silo? So Silo is like the self-publishing unicorn. This guy, Hugh Howey, which I don't think is his real name. It doesn't sound like it's his real name. I'm sorry if it is. Meaning if it is his real name, I'm sorry that I thought it wasn't his real name. It just sounds like a pen name. He self-published these novels on Amazon. They sold millions of copies. He did everything himself. I think he might have edited them himself. His Juliet is the most OP character on God's green earth. Woman grows up in the bottom of a silo, right? But she's somehow like a physicist, engineer, martial arts expert, deep diver. Like, she can do battlefield triage, like anything that she needs to do. She's like Neo from the Matrix, but she didn't have to go through any training. Like, she didn't
need to get shot to death to be the one.
Yeah, she grows up in a post-apocalyptic silo, but at one point falls into a pool of water and can just swim. Like, she's never swum before in her life, but she's just like, this is fine. Like, but you know, Rebecca Ferguson nails it. Rebecca Ferguson makes that character so believable in Silo. It's so perfectly cast. It's acted really well. The mood that they film it in. When I was reading Silo, I didn't like it. I read every single one, because if I start a series, I have to finish it. The entire time I was reading it, I couldn't stop thinking about how cool it would be as a TV show. And I think that's a credit to Hugh Howey. He had a great idea. It's totally self-contained, like, no pun intended. It takes place in a silo. It's self-contained. The way that he does the politics and the characters, it really lent itself to a TV show. I don't know if this lends itself to a TV show. Like, ACOTAR, meaning, because A Court of Thorns and Roses would make a great movie, but Mara, when we get into some of the later characters and some of the later scenes, I don't know how we're going to have the Bat Boys walking around seriously in serious gritty fight scenes, and they've just got like what, wings flopping around, like, because Carnival did not play well on Amazon. Like, people thought it was going to be huge and it wasn't. Like, the fairy thing just didn't really resonate with audiences. That series never, and it had Orlando Bloom in it, and it had that one actress who was Chloe Delevingne, and it just didn't really reach like zeitgeist status. Like, I think that this property, whoever picks up ACOTAR is going to want it to be their Game of Thrones, because the books are so popular and the fandom is so huge. Like, attempting to make a fucking podcast about it, like, you know, it's a madness and an affliction.
And here we are. So I don't know. Mara, I went on a rant. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
What do you think? What network? What would you like to see from a TV show for this? And where would you like to see it go?
I mean, I feel like overall it makes sense as a TV show, just because, like, it is, most books do. Most books just do in the long run.
Not a Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though we know that eventually it has to connect to... What if Throne of Glass was the series, and then ACOTAR and Crescent City were movies?
No matter what, you're going to be able to split it up, because there's so many different ways to do a TV. Like, you could still do ACOTAR as a TV show. It would just be a shorter season, and then you could change the length of seasons based on the book you're dealing with, which might be the best way to go about it. If you actually want to add in some of the, say, foreshadowing as cameos and things like that, because I feel like that would make sense, because you can add a little bit more into season one because people have already read all the books, so you can throw in extra things, which means that, like, yeah, you could make a 3-hour movie out of it and it would probably give off the same vibe as the book.
I think so too. I think if you did a movie, you could really, because it's in first person and it has it doesn't have a middle, but it has a beginning and an ending. It has two. It's not a 3-act, it's a 2-act. But like, I think that you could do ACOTAR as a movie, but if you did it as a series, if you did the whole story as a series, yeah, you would have to expand the POVs, or else it just would be dog shit.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. And then also maybe ACOTAR 1 would just be like the first season.
Yeah.
Or, not even the first season, maybe. I don't know. On a 10-episode series, maybe?
Yeah, like a mini-series.
I think you need 10 episodes for ACOTAR. Like, I'm not sure where you would end it in Mist and Fury if you did that. Because God, it really just, how scary do you make, how much will a show commit to making Rhysand scary? Like, in order to leave something on a cliffhanger, right? So, because you have to end season 1 with the battle under the mountain, right? Like, she has to complete the trials. You wouldn't end season 1 on like trial 2, would you?
No, you would end the season with probably her like waking up after getting the Fae. Like, it would be the full book of ACOTAR 1.
Yeah, and the final scene is probably, I think the final scene mirrors the final scene in the book. Maybe you don't get like the pony ride home. You get like the scene where she goes to the roof and Rhysand is there and you see his wings for the first time, and then he flies off. And I think they need to do like dramatic music where like Feyre realizes that like the story is not finished. She like, the bargain lights up on her hand and she's like, shit, I didn't think I was gonna survive long enough to actually have to deal with this choice that I made. And like, now I have no idea what's gonna happen, but this dude who I didn't know was the literal fucking devil with his like, and you get like, you remember when Daenerys walks out onto the platform and Drogon's wings like appear behind her?
Yeah.
I think you need that for Rhysand.
Some sort of big like him revealing
this
himself.
Big reveal like that Rhysand has a beast form too. And that would, you know what, that would work, Casey, with how you said we need to make Tamlin's beast form more prominent, because that would be, if you do it as a 10-episode season, that final scene where Tamlin kills Amarantha, that's episode 9, and then episode 10 is your
denouement, and it ends on the cliffhanger of like Rhysand is revealed to also have this terrifying beast form, and what does it mean for Feyre's future? Dun 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 dun. Like, but yeah. So, but again, like, that scene is so short. How do you make that a 1-hour episode? You'd have to add in more setup. You'd have to add in, you know, Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, like it would be like, yeah, it would do all the payoffs that the setup had done. You get more
mhm.
of people celebrating being able to take the masks off, people being able to,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like there
Yeah.
wasn't there would have to be some.
Some suspense in like the scene, like you need, rather than it happen off screen, I think you need the scene where Lucian and Tamlin discuss that no one knows where the adder is, and no one knows where Jurian's bones are because somebody goes to Amarantha's body. I think it should be Tamlin's, or it's gonna be Lucian because fucking Lucian does everything. It's gonna like go to Amarantha's body and to go get the Jurian's finger bone and be like, it's not here. And then we're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen with that? Like, why is it missing? Why is it important? I think maybe you see something happen with Feyre as well, because I'm not gonna I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I think that some of the things that happen in the beginning of Mist and Fury should just be retconned to happen in that final episode where you find out that like there's more going on with Feyre now that she's been resurrected.
Yeah.
And what does it mean? Like, yeah. Here we are, HBO stars, if you want to hire us to be on your writing team, that would be fantastic. No, just kidding. Let's see. What else do we want to? I can't believe we've been talking for 2.5 hours. I can believe we've been talking for 2.5 hours because I usually have 3-hour conversations with the two of you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're meeting now for the first time.
Ew.
I really wanted to know, Casey, I know you said you're dying, so if you die, it's fine. We can talk about it in part 2 too. But I really want to know your take on the magic system and its strengths and flaws.
Well, I thought the magic system was kind of weak, honestly. I didn't get a lot of just like free magic. You get a lot of the mysticism in the creatures, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of like magic.
Okay, I guess that's true. I feel like you don't see as much magic until you get under the mountain and Amarantha wields her magic a little bit, like when Rhysand tries to attack her. But you're right, it happens so fast. You don't really understand what it is that she did because it's from Feyre's perspective, and she doesn't really understand what's happening. And then you get like the bargain, right? The magical bargain, the magical tattoo, and the masks, and so.
But right now, it just convenient more than anything else. Like, so there's no system.
You feel like there's no system. You feel like there's no rules to the magic. It's just whatever Sarah needs to have happen in the moment happens.
That's how it feels right now. I'm trying to remember if in other books it starts to build on itself. But right now, yeah, it just feels like it's much like most of the characters. Like, she's just stacked all of these like gimmicks.
Yeah, I have huge questions remaining, and like we can dig into this in Mist and Fury too. But like even to this day, I have huge questions that I need to have answered, and that is, what the fuck were people doing when everyone was under the mountain? Because at one point it makes it seem like everyone's courts are under the mountain, and that's fine. All the royals and all the aristocracy is under the mountain with Amarantha, but like none of the peasants are, right? So is everybody just having this like free liberal society, like when all the kings and queens are under the mountain, and then when they get released from the mountain, they're like, God damn it, I have to start paying taxes again.
Yeah, the cats are bad.
The fucking cats are bad, because we know that Winter Court is not under the mountain, like, because we know that gets established in this book that only Callias is under the mountain. Only the Winter Court king and maybe some of his entourage is there, because we have the scene where Tamlin is upset that the children of the Winter Court were killed as punishment for the Winter Court rebelling. So Feyre is like, that's when she's like, oh, there's a Winter Court out there rebelling. What the fuck, Tamlin? Like, why aren't you helping the Winter Court? Like, why aren't you, like, it's like, what? So it's not, so Spring Court, we know, is not under the mountain. And then we learn that at least some of Winter Court is not under the mountain. So, but what about Autumn Court? Like, where are all their people? What about Night Court? Where are all we get told that Night Court are villains, so we just assume that they are Amarantha's allies, I guess. But like, yeah, we don't get enough of what are the people doing? Like the lesser Fae. So, I mean, I've said this to both of you. I want a Prithian civil war in the future books. I don't think I'm going to get it, but I want it. I want the lesser Fae to be like, fuck you, life was better when you were in jail. We're just going to set up a democratic republic and have free trade with the continent because we're sick of your bullshit and we don't want to pay our taxes.
That's the kind of book I want to read.
That is the kind of book I want to read. Okay. So we can finish on this because I know you guys probably want to go. Okay. If you were to, just based on this book alone, what would you recommend somebody to read next?
I don't know. I probably would recommend a Nicholas Sparks novel.
Really? You'd recommend them to read romance rather than fantasy?
Well, yeah. And then I would recommend reading The Guardian by Nicholas Sparks because it is a romance. And it's like has two love interests, and I don't know. I thought about that because I'm like, I want multiple love interests for Feyre, and we only get one of them in ACOTAR 1. I don't know.
Percy Jackson.
You would go YA. Okay, so you would go the other direction. This is really fun because I would go somewhere completely different than you guys. But so you think they should read Percy Jackson and they should go for fantasy YA. Casey thinks they should go for romance. Nicholas Sparks,
straight
The
romance,
Guardian.
or straight fantasy like Game of Thrones.
I don't think ACOTAR readers are ready for Game of Thrones.
Probably not. No.
I don't think they're ready. They need a couple series in between before they get there.
I haven't read enough fantasy to be. I probably just haven't read enough. Period to be able to.
You read a lot.
I know, but I don't feel like I do.
So based on just ACOTAR, based on the series, based on romantasy, I would tell people to read Kushiel's Legacy series by Jacqueline Carey, starting with Kushiel's Dark. But if I were to recommend just based on ACOTAR, I would recommend Circe by Madeline Miller.
I know Circe.
Did you read? But I gave you Song of Achilles a couple years ago for Christmas. Did you read it?
I haven't. I still haven't read it yet, though.
Casey, you have to read it. It's so beautiful. The Star. You know what? The Starless Sea would be a good one. I think the Starless Sea is
that one.
I think Starless Sea would be a very different book. Is a very different book than ACOTAR, but the reading level is the same. The writing level is a little bit better. And the story is super atmospheric and lovely, and it's a love letter to reading in a way that I think a lot of people coming to ACOTAR are either first being introduced. Yeah, they're being either introduced to a love of reading or they're returning to a love of reading where maybe they read a lot when they were kids and then now they're rediscovering books again. And so I like that. I like Starlight. That's a good suggestion, Casey. It's a very lovely story and it's a love letter to writing and books in general. But yeah, I would say Circe because it's a mythology retelling. It's a fucking masterpiece. The prose is beautiful and elegant. It's also a story. It's like the core of the story is feminine empowerment. But yeah, no, I like the Starless Sea. Ooh, that's a really good suggestion. Yeah.
Thank you for giving it to me.
Well, you're the one that brought it up. Oh, I gave you the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave you the book. I did give you the book. But yeah, Mara's just over there like Percy Jackson. Just.
It's YA, so it's like same reading level, same,
I said, I never read the books. I saw 2 of the movies. I think Logan Lerman is adorable. That's where we're going to leave it for today. To everyone that's made it to the end of this episode, congratulations and thank you, truly. We're really excited to see where this little experiment goes and build this space for, chaos and being obsessed with books. And it means a lot that you're here for it. So if you have questions or theories, or if you just want to scream about Lucian with me because he's precious baby boy, drop us a comment or slide into our DMs on Instagram @MonstersLikeUsPod. We'll see you next time.